Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and as you can tell from the title screen here, we got a lot to talk about today. There has been a huge announcement from Wizards of the Coast. Now, typically the Monday after a pre-release, we get a banned and restricted list update. This time around, this update was planned for Monday, the next Monday coming up. However, because of the sweeping changes that Wizards is putting in place when it comes to especially the standard format, they wanted to go ahead and get this information out to players as quickly as possible so they can begin reacting to it when it comes to deck building and preparing for Aether Revolt. Needless to say, you're going to see some pretty big cards on this banned list. 3 of them in Standard. We're also going to look at 2 in Modern. So let's go ahead and just jump in because we do have a lot to talk about, and we'll begin with the Standard update. Now, one point before we get started to put this into context. Around Christmas time, there was a lot of dialogue occurring on Twitter between Wizards of the Coast and players. Now, a lot of them were pro players, but many weren't. Many were just regular players as well. And they were talking about the health of Standard and how fun the format was. How would they rate the format? And most of the players were rating it well below 5 out of 10. Many of them 2, 3 out of 10. And their issue was there were just a few cards that were really throttling the diversity out of the format. And because of that, some players were getting tired of the format. And that is why some people, anyway, got involved in Frontier and wanted to just try something different, do something different. So Wizards has taken that information. They certainly are reacting to it. So we're going to look at the cards that they banned, first the 3 standard cards, and then we'll go into Modern. And I'll kind of let you know what they said in their article as to why each one was banned. Alright, the first one is Emrakul, the Promised End. So probably not a surprise that if any card was going to be banned in Standard, it was going to be this one. Now, this is kind of a big deal. I mean, cards have not been banned in Standard in about 6 years or so. I mean, it was like Jace the Mind Sculptor and Squadron Hawk was the last time this happened. So this is something that doesn't happen. This is a big reaction to Wizards, and they are really listening to a lot of the players with this, which I think is a good thing. Now, Emrakul totally makes sense why this one's banned. This card was showing up in a lot of places, and it's just so powerful. I mean, ever since it made its debut at the Pro Tour after Eldritch Moon, I mean, this card was a force, and it just continued to be a force, and it has never let up. And it got to the point where if you're going to cheat out a big creature or ramp into something, then it's going to be Emrakul. Why should it be anything else? There's no reason to look elsewhere. Just go for the best, right? With this out of the format, there's a chance anyway to add some diversity, and maybe some other creatures will get some spotlight that they never got before. I mean, you have a couple other Eldrazi Titans out there, and you have other good creatures that just maybe never got their chance. So it's going to be interesting to see how the meta reacts to the absence of Emrakul. Hopefully it will lead to some more diverse gameplay. Smugglers Copter, banned in Standard. Well, this is kind of the Emrakul of vehicles, really, and this really kept the diversity down in a lot of decks. I mean, it costs 2, it's generic mana, so let's face it, I mean, there's no reason not to run 4 of these in almost every deck build, right? And that's exactly what was happening. Again, it made for very little diversity in the format, and again, it kept other vehicles down. There's some really strong vehicles out there that never got a shot because why play those when I can simply play this? Reflector Mage. Now, this banning in Standard is not so much the individual card as much as they're trying to knock the blue-white flash deck down a little bit. After, I'd say about a month or so of Standard after Kaladesh came out, the blue-white flash deck really started to rise to prominence, and it never looked back. I mean, this deck is super powerful. It's taken up a very large portion of the field for a while now, and they're looking for a way to stabilize that deck a little bit. Removing Reflector Mage, I think, is a good place to start, simply because it's a very good card in the deck. It's great for control purposes, but also it has been around a little while. Folks have had a chance to play with it. It has been very successful. It was great with Collected Company back in the day, and people got really sick of that deck. So I think it's probably about time for this one to go. And considering it's going to rotate out sooner than some of the other cards from, say, the Kaladesh block, it's probably a fine choice. All right, let's move on to Modern. We got 2 cards banned in Modern. The first one is Gitaxian Probe. So this one surprised me a little bit just because I wasn't thinking about it, but I think their explanation kind of makes sense. They said that what was happening with Gitaxian Probe was it was lending itself to a lot of turn 3 kills in the format, just because if you have a great combo and you want to go off, then you just play Gitaxian Probe for free. You get perfect information. You know whether or not you can just go off and do what you want to do, or if you can't. So it takes away your opponent's ability to bluff, which led to faster kills, shorter games, so on and so forth. I never really thought about it, I guess. But yeah, that totally makes sense now that I think about it. And it will be interesting to see how this affects the format long term. And finally, the last one. This is a card that was banned, got unbanned. It's banned again. Golgari Grave Troll. And the reason for this was they felt that Dredge was really emerging as too powerful in the modern format. And it really happened when they started getting cards like Cathartic Reunion and Prized Amalgam. It really took the Dredge deck and brought it to really a tier 1 level. And personally, I don't think Wizards likes Dredge. Like, I feel like they don't feel like that's a good representation of what their game's about. So it feels like whenever it starts to get up there, they try to knock it down a little bit. This is the one banning that I don't know if I'm completely on board with, quite honestly, because yes, Dredge was doing really well. But I also felt like there were other decks in Modern that were doing as well, if not better. So I don't know. It didn't feel like it was completely taking over. Yes, I would say it was tier 1 for sure, but I don't feel like it was necessarily a overwhelming force in the format. But again, it just could be regionally where I play versus where other people play. I might not have seen it, but maybe it is happening. So let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this one. This is the only one that I feel a little shaky on. All the others I think kind of make sense, at least in some way. Now, your next question probably is, well, when will this take effect? For Paper Magic, it will go into effect January 20th. For Magic Online, however, it's going to go into effect January 11th, which is just a couple days. That's when the next reset happens, and that's their first opportunity to reset leagues and all of that stuff. So, one other important side note. Banned and restricted announcements will now be made both on Mondays after Standard Legal Set pre-releases and 5 weeks after a Pro Tour, and that will also be on a Monday. So they're doubling the amount of times they're going to update the banned and restricted list. Now, that doesn't mean every time they're going to make a change. A lot of times they just come out and say, no change, that's it. I guess what this does is it gives them the opportunity to not only make changes prior to a set coming out, but if they see something degenerate going on at a Pro Tour, they have a few weeks to really analyze the data, and then they can make some changes before the standard season gets completely ruined. So I guess that's a good idea. I am a little scared of that, though, because again, you're doubling the chances of bannings, which means if I invest into a certain deck or a certain card, there's double the chance every year that something could happen to my investment, and that doesn't feel good. But at least for right now, I'm going to trust them and assume that they're only going to make drastic changes like this one if they really, really need to. And hopefully this plan will make sure that Standard and other formats will stay healthier, and you won't have long periods of time before something changes when we all know a change really kind of needed to happen, right? So having said that, that is the information for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below on any of the bannings or just any changes in general. But until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.